Hi, I'm Beth Dunlap with Sunny Bites, here to answer a few questions that I had about hiking the Narrows in Zion National Park and hopefully helping you in your planning. I am back home in Tennessee and am at Fall Creek Falls State Park taking a little break from paddleboarding, which is one of my favorite things to do here. Okay, so as far as the hike itself, we'll talk about the hike and also the gear. We saw all sorts of variations of people with no gear, some even barefoot, just flip-flops, sandals, hiking shoes, tennis shoes, all sorts of different variations. We debated back and forth if we should rent the gear. After all, we thought, well, we've got our hiking boots or our chacos, we've got hiking poles, but in the end we decided to go ahead and rent them. I do think that the proper gear makes a difference in your enjoyment of some activities, and that's definitely the case in my opinion with the Narrows. We passed one group of 20-something-year-old guys as we were leaving the Narrows, and they were just starting out, and one guy was saying to his friend, whoever planned this hike is out of their mind. They didn't have the proper gear. So I would definitely recommend getting the gear. I am glad that we ended up renting our gear. As far as our hiking boots go, we just ended up deciding that they might be uncomfortable and heavy. They're not really designed to be submerged for so long. And if you watched my Angel's Landing video, then you'll know that my hiking boots split during the cable portion of that hike. And I'm really glad that my hiking boots weren't my go-to thing for the Narrows, or I would have been in trouble. As far as our chacos go, it was nice to have something that was closed-toed, just to protect our feet as we were going through. We have hiked through some rivers in Tennessee, and I was just really surprised at how much better I felt having the proper shoes and the wooden pole to help steady me as I was going through. It certainly helped in my enjoyment of this hike. The other thing that you can rent are waders. We did not get them. We ended up getting to the hike somewhere around 9:30-ish is about, probably when we started. It was a little chilly to begin with. We did get a little cold, but once we were able to kind of get in the sun and get warmed up that way, we were fine, and we were very comfortable coming back through the Narrows. So it just depends on the time of year that you're there. So just talk to the park rangers and the outfitters to see if you need waders. The other thing that I would recommend doing is if you've got hiking poles with you, you might be thinking about bringing those instead of using the wooden poles. I would be cautious about using those because if they get caught on a rock and then you pull it up, parts of the bottom could come off and you won't be able to use it. So definitely the shoes and the wooden pole for sure. The other thing you might want to consider is like a dry bag. We have several dry bags that we had at our house, and for some reason we only brought one. I think at the time when I was packing at home, I was thinking that we could just run back to the camper and change and then run right back out and do some other things in Zion. But once I got there and realized like the shuttle bus situation, then I realized, you really need to pack everything that you need for the day. So we had to be very selective on what was dry bag worthy. Everything else just went into regular backpacks. So once you've got that gear in place, the other thing you might want to consider buying is something for your phone. I had one thing that I thought was going to work for my phone. It ended up not being like waterproof to protect it, so I wasn't able to use it. So I was digging around for my phone the whole time. They did have cases that were for sale in Springdale, and I would definitely recommend getting something for your phone because there's so many beautiful pictures that you'll want to be snapping while you're hiking along the Narrows. You definitely want to have your phone handy. Also, you'll keep in mind that you'll be wearing it around your neck for several hours, so buy one that's comfortable around your neck as well. All right, so that's all the gear. We ended up renting our gear from Zion Guru. They were fantastic to work with. They were very accommodating. We even had to change our reservation, and it was super easy. It was no problem. The website was easy to follow. We were able to put in our shoe sizes ahead of time and get all the gear. The only problem that we had with them, and it was all on us, is that we didn't have a car. And our only transportation was our RV, and we didn't want to move it because we just thought there's probably limited parking in Springdale for an RV, and most likely it was not at an outfitter. So that meant that we were walking for 1.5 miles. So when you're picking an outfitter, I would just consider thinking about your location and your transportation to see how convenient it is for you to pick it up and drop it off, and where it is in relationship to where you're staying versus where you'll be going into Zion. We were only able to catch the shuttle bus coming back after we had dropped off the gear one time. So my husband and I were, booking it to and from Zion Guru, which 1.5 miles doesn't sound so bad, but on the day that we had to pick up our gear, we had gotten up at sunrise to see the Grand Canyon sunrise, and then had driven over to Zion, had hiked the Angel's Landing, so we were wiped out. 1.5 miles seemed forever, and we could not find an Uber or a Lyft. So take that into consideration when you're picking your outfitter, your transportation to get the gear. Our friends rented from Zion Outfitters, and that one is right outside the entrance of Zion. So that was super convenient, and they seem to have a good experience with them. I know that there's other outfitters. Those are just the two that we had any experience with. All right, so for the hike itself, the shuttle bus stop for the Narrows is the very last one on Scenic Drive, called the Temple of Sinawava. You will hike about 1 mile from the shuttle bus stop to the entrance of the Narrows. It's a beautiful hike where you're getting to see the beauty of Zion, but it is good to know that it's not just like hopping off the shuttle bus and right there is the Narrows. You do take a little bit of a hike to get to the entrance. I was very confused on how long it was going to take to do the Narrows. I was seeing anywhere from 2 to 4 hours to 3 to 5. I just wasn't really sure what to gauge. The reason for that is because it's really up to you and the group that you're with on how long you want to do the Narrows. You just go down as far as you want, and then you turn around and you come back. So that's why there's such a huge variation on the timing. Now, when we were in Zion, they were requiring timed shuttle bus tickets. So ours was between 8 and 9. So we got on to the shuttle bus at 8:45. We got out of the Narrows at a little bit after 1 o'clock. So that was our time frame. So when we exited the actual river, not when we got back on the shuttle. So that's about how long it took for us. What we did is we hiked down a couple of miles to the split. It's right there at the split where it's Wall Street on one side, and then on the other you can keep going. If you had a permit, you could go back there and camp. So it could keep going for quite a while. That's where we stopped. We just explored that area and both sides of that split, and then we turned around and came back. We were a little chilly going there at times. It was early in the morning. And, we got a little cold, but once the sun came out, then we got warmed up, and we were just fine. It didn't break our enjoyment of it, but we did get a little chilly in spots. And just keep a lookout for nice sunny spots for snack time. We sat down for a snack in a shaded area, and then we came around a corner and it was a nice sunny area. We're like, we should have stopped there. So just be on the lookout for that. The other thing that you want to consider is just the water level. Talk to the rangers before you head out, and just ask them about that. You want to be very cautious about any flash floods or warnings or anything like that in Zion. And the day that we were there, the deepest it got was about mid belly for me, and I'm only 5'2". So things can get pretty deep for me pretty quick, and that's as deep as it got for us that day. But of course, water levels change, and just take into consideration the warnings with the bacteria that might be in the water. So just check about that with the park rangers. You can check the current river conditions by going to mps.gov/Zion and click under current conditions, and you will be able to see how the river conditions are close to when you are there. Click on flow rate, and it will be able to give you some information about that. I've got some information on what it's like if you're going through the Narrows when it's below 70, when it's above 70, and then what happens when it's above 150. On Tuesday, June the 29th, 2021, Zion had 1.5 inches of rain come through, and you can see what the flow rate looks like on that day, and then the recovery that Zion and Springdale went through after that amount of rain came through Zion. So just be cautious about what the conditions are, and always check with the park rangers for any questions and recommendations. We had an absolutely wonderful time. It's incredible walking through that slot canyon and just seeing the beauty of Zion all around you. It was an incredible experience and one of our favorite things that we did on the trip, so highly recommend it. I have 5 videos available for Zion. The first one is getting around Zion. The second is about parking. Third one is about the Angel's Landing hike. The fourth one is this one about the Narrows, and the fifth one is about Springdale. We visited 7 national parks at the end of May 2021, and during the planning I had so many questions about Zion, so I'm trying to answer the questions I had to help you in your planning process. For some reason it just seemed like the most confusing and time-consuming park to plan, so hope these help, and check them out. Thanks.